Today, I've made over $400,000 selling real estate part-time, and I'm going to show you how you can too with 10 lazy hacks. Now, whether you're brand new to real estate or you've been selling real estate for a while, you've likely suffered from something called "I work way too hard and don't make enough money" syndrome, which is pretty scary stuff and definitely not a medical term I just made up. Side effects can include, but are not limited to, tiredness, frustration, lack of motivation, alcoholism, not making enough money, ADHD, FOMO, depression, anxiety, and having a father that's disappointed in you. I'm just kidding. Your dad was already disappointed in you long before you joined real estate. As someone that's been selling real estate for 7 years now, I've really struggled to make ends meet at first. I was doing a lot and working really hard, but I can never seem to make more than $100,000 a year. Then one day I asked a good realtor friend of mine who was making about $600,000 a year what he was doing in his business. What he told me shocked me to my core, and I even thought he was a liar at first. The conversation went on for a while, and basically this is what it came down to. He had one lead source, one nurture strategy, and a very simple process for converting leads. Long story short, he was just doing way less than I was and yet was making way more than me. So I started talking to other successful agents in my market, and I started noticing similar patterns. All their businesses were a lot simpler than mine, and they were making a ton more money than I was. So in 2020, I did the unthinkable and I gutted my real estate business. I rebuilt it from ground up with the intention of doing less. Today, I have made over $400,000 just this year working part-time, which is 4 times more than what I was doing 2 years ago. And I'm going to show you 10 hacks on how you can simplify your business so you can do less and make more. The first lazy hack to simplify your business is to pick either buyers or sellers. Now, I know you're going to want to work with both, and you will. You will still work with buyers and you still work with sellers, but you need to focus your lead generation on one. Either pick buyers or pick sellers. I don't care which one you do. I know the industry usually tells you listings are king. For the record, yes, I work with a lot of sellers. In fact, I closed 5 listings last month. Now that you've chosen whether you're going to work with buyers or sellers, it's time to pick your lead source, and you can only pick one. If you're going to work with sellers, you can't work expireds and FSBOs. You need to pick expireds or FSBOs, not both. The lead process, nurture, and follow-up system are different for both of these lead sources, and you need to decide what you're going to do. Now, of course, you can choose door knocking, open houses, Facebook leads, Zillow leads, Google PPC, or my personal favorite, start making YouTube or TikTok videos. I don't really care which lead source you pick. You just have to pick one, and you have to stick with it. Which brings us to hack number 3, the rule of 100. Any lead source you pick is going to work and is going to generate you a lot of business. And as a realtor, it's really easy to get discouraged and not see immediate results and then switch to a different lead source, even though that lead source was probably about to generate a ton of business for you. The reality is any lead source you choose just takes time before it starts working. The rule of 100 says this: whichever lead source you choose to work, you need to work on it 100 times a day for 100 days straight at a minimum before you decide you want to switch or try a different lead generation source. Like I said, they're all going to work and they're all going to work great, but you're not going to see any results for a couple of months. So it's important to make sure you give these lead generation sources time. Now, if you don't want to cold call or door knock 100 people a day, that's fine. Then you need to at least spend $100 a day for 100 days in Google leads, Facebook leads, Zillow leads, which is about $3,000 a month. And if you don't want to call 100 people a day or spend $100 a day, then make 100 videos in the next 100 days. Again, I don't really care what lead generation source you do. You just got to pick one and do it 100 times before you even think about switching to a different lead source. Now let's move on to lazy hack number 4, is to pick one simple lead nurture method. Now there are a million different ways you can run your business, and there are also a million different ways that you can nurture and follow up with your leads. I want you to pick just one. Most successful realtors I know just do a weekly email, just a weekly newsletter, and that's it. That's literally all the follow-up they do, and they are stupid successful at it. Yes, people are going to unsubscribe. Yes, people are going to report you as spam. So if you have 10,000 emails that you're emailing every single week, that should be about 100 deals a year. Now, does it have to be a weekly email? No. One of my good friends who was probably going to do about $1 million in GCI this year only does Facebook and Instagram stories as his follow-up. It's his way of staying front of mind. He adds all of his clients on Facebook and Instagram, and he just posts stories daily. That's it. If you don't want to do emailing or Facebook messaging, call them all back, text them all back, or send them a postcard every single week. Whatever you do, you need to do something and pick one thing to stay front of mind consistently every single week to your entire database. Now, my 5th lazy hack to do less and close more is to create a simple schedule and stick to it. Now, my simple schedule looks like this. I have one primary task that I have to get done no matter what. I cannot go to bed until this one task gets done. I then have a second primary task. It's the most important thing I need to do that day. And then literally the rest of the day are the other admin things that I have to do. More often than not, there are a lot of little fires that are really meaningless and pointless that are always pulling at our attention and distract us from focusing on the one thing that's going to make us successful: generating leads or nurturing nurturing leads. So for example, tomorrow, Tuesday, my primary task is to send out a newsletter email for the week. That's something I do every single Tuesday. I write and send out my newsletter, and my secondary task is to make a YouTube video. After those two things are done, I can do anything else in my business, whether that's following up with emails, text messages, liking cat photos on Facebook, doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is getting that newsletter sent out, followed by making my YouTube video. My sixth hack for doing less and closing more is hire a transaction coordinator. There's a lot of paperwork, there's a lot of moving parts, and it is just nice having a transaction coordinator manage my transactions. Allows me to do more important things like generating leads, making YouTube videos, spending time with my family, and enjoying my hobbies. My seventh lazy hack for doing less and closing more is create a checklist system for everything. You need a plan, okay? And you need a very clear, defined checklist plan for everything. Now, this is going to take time to make, and you do not get to work on this until your follow-up and lead nurture are done for the day. Once those things are done, you need to make a checklist plan for everything. Now that you've created a system checklist for all your processes, it's time to move on to our eighth hack, and that is automate everything. Now, there are some really powerful tools like the Chime CRM and Zapier that allow you to automate a lot of your processes, a lot of your follow-ups. For example, I use a tool called Zapier for every time when I get a new lead, it automatically adds them to a third-party software I use for my email newsletter. You can also use it for more advanced automation, like having people sign buyer agency agreements automatically, and so much more. Now, hack number 9 is hiring a virtual assistant for some basic tasks. Now, I don't want you to feel like you have to hire a VA for anything. I was making $400,000 a year way before I hired a VA, and I know realtors making over $1 million a year still without even a transaction coordinator. So this is not something you absolutely need, but is a great help if you were to actually hire one, as they can take a lot of repetitive tasks off of your plate for you. I hired a virtual assistant about 3 months ago, and she has taken a ton of work off of my plate. Training her was super easy. I thought it was going to be like this really big hard thing. All I did was I made a bunch of screen recorded videos on how all my processes and systems work, telling her exactly what she needed to do. She then transcribed that into a actual checklist for me, and now completes a bunch of redundant tasks that I couldn't already automate with Zapier for me on my behalf, and it has been a game changer. Saves me a ton of time. Absolutely love her. Would highly recommend getting a VA, but not until you're making at least $200,000 a year. Now, my 10th lazy hack is to double down on everything. Once you've mastered one lead source, it's time to add another. So for me, my first lead source that I really focused a lot of time and energy on was just Zillow leads. Once I mastered Zillow leads, it became really easy. I then went all in on YouTube as my second lead source. Same thing goes for my nurture process. Once I mastered my weekly emails, I then started adding monthly postcards. And that's the goal for my real estate business, to keep adding more things slowly and one at a time. I can't stress the one at a time part aspect enough. You really can only do one thing at a time, so make sure you do it really well. And once I master it, I then move on adding another piece to my business with the sole intention of making me more money. And here's the thing about doubling down and doing more. Only do it if it makes your life easier and makes you more money. If it doesn't do both those things, don't do it. Don't double down. Which brings me to my bonus hack, and that is to start cutting things that are not making you money. I'm willing to bet if you run your business anything like me, and I'm very guilty of this, is I have a lot of bloat. Still to this day, a lot of things that I do in my real estate business don't actually make me any money. I really need you to be honest with yourself, look at those things and see what you can cut. That way you can spend more time on the things that actually do make you money. Which begs the question, what are you doing in your real estate business today that is really simple and easy to do and makes you a ton of money? I'm honestly genuinely curious. I'd really like to know. I love hearing about how other realtors are having success in their own real estate business. With that said, my name is Tommy Mutchler, your lazy agent, and I will see you in the next one.